Hi, and welcome to the Thinking Out Loud podcast, a show with meaningful conversations in English with non-native speakers. My name is Jedrek.
My name is Masha.
And we are two English teachers, of course, who
would like to travel more virtually, but still travel.
yeah,
What does it
that's
mean?
right. Well, it has always been on my mind, to have an international exposure of this
Coverage.
podcast, coverage, yeah. And that also involves our guests, right? To travel from country to country to see, what's the situation in a way, both regarding English and life, right?
That's a good way of traveling, yeah. First of all, it's cheap.
Yeah, but it really takes you, right? It really takes you somewhere,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, it's great. Yeah.
Are you traveling somewhere right now?
Yeah, I'm traveling.
To
I'm
the
just
Wall
responding
Street,
to.
probably.
Yeah, I'm responding right now to Ella, my student. And
Hi, Ella.
Ella, we want you on the show. By the way, I'm saying that out loud now, and I hope you'll join us finally. People who follow my Polish YouTube channel may know Ella because we are reading books in English, and it's usually Ella's idea, to read, different books, and then we meet and we talk about this book in Polish. But
Can you record this and put it on
yeah,
your
we
YouTube?
record it. Yeah, we record it, and I'm posting this on my channel, and we've already sold a lot of books, I think. Because
Cool.
we try to inspire people to read in English. It's a great way to learn.
Yeah.
And we both like reading books, so it's like it's
What are you
very,
reading right now?
Right now, we are reading The Forgers. It's a story of a group of Polish diplomats from the times of the Second World War who were issuing fake passports to save Jewish people from the Holocaust. And it's been it's been done at a really large scale. They issued over I think 10,000 passports. Something like that. Fake passports. Imagine this, you're a bureaucrat and you issue fake passports.
But it's a fiction.
But no,
it's not,
this is no.
It's documentary.
It's a documentary.
The book.
Yes. There was a Ładoś group. Ładoś was Polish, I think, not ambassador because we didn't have embassy in Switzerland, but he was some sort of a consul in Switzerland, and he was issuing this, of course, together with a group of other diplomats. Amazing work and an amazing story that's kind of not really known around the world. But yes, it's like a thriller. It reads like a thriller, Right. Fine. So anyway, that's just one thing. Masha, you said that we travel. So maybe a few words about our today's travel.
Today we travel to Romania.
Finally, I always wanted to visit Romania on our show, of course.
Have
virtually.
You ever been to Romania?
I have never been to Romania, honestly.
How close did you get?
I was in Bulgaria, in Zlote Piaski, So
Zlote Piaski.
Okay. I see. Yeah. So I was there. I was in Turkey. I was in Slovakia. I was in Hungary, but I've never been to Romania. What a shame. But yeah, after our today's conversation, I feel really tempted to go to Bucharest, And not only there, I know that Romania has some fantastic landscapes, delicious food, and it's really,
Dima,
really,
who
really, really
was
worth
on our show
visiting.
once.
Yeah, you're right. You're
He
right.
he's actually
Dimas,
I
yeah.
think they are preparing to leave. Actually, they're moving to Norway, so maybe we'll
All
have
right.
a person from Norway soon.
That's great. Yeah.
Great.
So once again, we sort of ask you, our listeners,
Yeah, we
to
don't only
join us
ask you to
from
leave us a
yeah,
voicemail. We
yeah,
ask
but
you
to
to,
join us to tell us what it's like, living in. Actually, Julie, who's joining us today, she moved back to Romania after several years
working
living
and living
in
abroad.
working and living abroad. This is also interesting to me personally because it proves that there is a shift uh, of what
That the grass isn't
of
always greener, maybe.
yeah, that's one thing, but really people are flocking back to the Eastern and Central Europe, because of the economy, because of
And actually,
security and so on.
it also gives me hope, because now it's one of great concerns, because a lot of people from Ukraine are now living abroad,
Yeah.
and imagine if your child, for example, started school there.
Mhm.
So after 2 years, the chances are that you're not likely to want to maybe go back. But
Yeah, it
her
depends.
story,
I think, but I think once the situation gets normal, in Ukraine, I think you'll see a huge wave of people coming back. Especially that very often these are families who were separated, right?
separated.
Yes.
Oh, it's also not that you know easy, but
Yeah, it's a complex thing,
that's
but
we hope.
looking at this from the macro perspective, I think it's kind of more clear, where when you see that definitely that the trend will be like that, given that the situation is back to normal, and the peace is back. All right, fine, Masha. So
Today we travel to Romania, and it's Julie, and it's my she was my trainer when I did my Delta course, and she, her optimism is
fantastic person,
contagious.
and inspiring, and I recommend listening to her voice alone. That's enough, to feel better.
You're right.
All
That's
right,
what
great.
made us feel better. Every time we had a session with her, she would enter the class, and you will see she has this "I love Coke" cup. She's the only person I know who really loves Coca-Cola, and she's not,
She's not shy
shy
about it.
about it, because usually people, well, yeah, I mean, kind of.
It's like sugar, it's
Sometimes,
liquid sugar. Yeah.
yeah, when I feel, yeah, but she just, she says, yes, I love it. That's my favorite drink. And she would enter,
Excellent.
the class sometimes with this bottle of Coke, and she'd say, morning, happy people, and you were like, yesterday you stayed up till I don't know what, finishing this essay or whatever. And, she would enter, and you suddenly feel better. So I highly recommend listening to her.
Great. All right. So our website remains the same. It's tolpodcast.com. If any of you need to leave us a voicemail or something.
Need
And
is the word.
all right. And so let's say hi to Julie, and
Yeah.
let's start the conversation.
Hi, Julie.
Hi,
It's
Masha.
so nice to have you.
Nice to
It's a
meet
pleasure.
you.
It's a pleasure being here, guys.
All right. I've been waiting for a person from Romania for a long,
And here
long
I
time.
am.
And here you are. You are, making my dream come true. So
That's what I do.
Lots of questions, Julie. But first, we would like you to tell just a little bit about yourself, to our
Sure.
listeners, so that they know, the landscape here?
Absolutely. So my name is Julie. Well, actually, my name is Julia, but
Exactly.
And the
but
surname, it took us
and
quite some time.
the surname is very difficult. So my name is Julia Lechner, but my friends and my colleagues call me Julie. And I'm from Romania, and ever since 2019, I've been back living in Romania after a couple of years when I lived and worked abroad. I'm a teacher and teacher trainer, and recently I've been dabbling into coaching. So I'm still trying to get my coaching certification off the ground.
Coaching, like
Fun,
coaching for life or coaching in
yeah.
language learning?
Well, I started with coaching for life
Okay.
coaching. I started with life coaching, but
Masha,
in
we
the
need to
meantime,
head there too, you know, because too
We
many
have a
people
second
are,
coach in a row.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
yeah. Well, I'm like a mini coach because I haven't finished my certification yet.
Mhm.
And it's still going to be it's a long process because you know me, I'm a perfectionist and I want to do things the right way. But fun fact about me is that teaching was my first ever job. So I finished uni during my master's program. I got a job as a teacher with a private institution, and that was my first ever job, and I never went back. And then after a while, I did my CELTA, I did my Delta, and I was very lucky to be working in a wonderful environment with lots of supportive people and people who believed in continuous professional development, not just as, you know, 3 letters on on your regular evaluations. Really brought in people and trainers and believed in helping us be be better teachers. And everybody kept telling me, Julie, you'd be great at doing this. You'd be great at teaching other teachers because, you know, you always read the latest books, you know, the latest things, you know, everything. So then the path sort of unfolded in front of me, and I said, you know what, I'm going to be a teacher trainer. And I just followed that process. That path did not. It took me out of Romania. Because at that moment there was just no other than regular in-house teacher training. If I wanted to be a Cambridge certified teacher trainer, I had to do this with another school, with a sister school in Izmir in Turkey. And that's where I spent the next 2.5 years. I became a CELTA tutor, I became a Delta tutor. And after that, I traded sunny Izmir for a very culturally diverse Edinburgh. Very sunny. It's still, a lot of
All
people
right.
think, you know, Scotland is not, it's rainy, but it is quite sunny.
Relatively.
It's relatively, but it's kind of like you're in the Matrix. Like on one side of the road, it's sunny and nice, and then on the other side of the road, it's raining, and you're thinking like, what's happening here? But yeah, and
I
that was
remember,
the
by the way, by
yeah.
the way, I remember I spent some time in Scotland
Mm,
myself, and I remember that I was working in a resort called Broughty Ferry, that's
mm,
supposedly the sunniest place in Scotland. With, I don't know, there was some amount of by the way, crazy little amount of sunny days, like I don't know what, like 20 in a year or something like that,
yeah.
you know. And it was a resort, you know, a resort. And the place where I'm now boasts itself for having over 300 sunny days in a year.
Wow.
But I'm not sure this
Wow.
is true, by the way. I'm not sure this is true. I'm in the south
Yeah.
of France right now.
Oh,
That's
brilliant,
that's
brilliant.
that's you know, but honestly, Scotland is like, you know, my all-time favorite country, you know, to live.
Wow. No,
I wonder
it's
if I'll ever get
Go
there,
back.
to settle. Yeah, but to settle, kind of, to live, not
Yeah.
just as a tourist.
Yeah. No, it was great professionally. It was some of the best years of my career, and I found an apartment in a Polish neighborhood, and it was just like being home because we had Polish shops, we had Romanian shops, we had
Right, right.
Lidl. So it was just like, oh well,
All that we need. All that we
all
need. Yeah.
I need. It's good. It's good. It's good.
It's
Like
funny
everybody
how,
was going to.
people travel, but they still want to find something,
They do.
they can relate. Mhm.
And it was great because a lot of people saying, "Oh my God, you're in like an Eastern European neighborhood," and I was like, "Yeah, it's great, it's fantastic. No one bothers me, or if they do, I know how to handle it." It was great. It was really 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 nice. And yeah, and that's where my adventure took me, and it was a really really nice adventure. And um I'll be very honest. I never given much thought to this because I was able to live. I was able to work in really supportive environments, and
Mhm.
when there was no sort of separation between native or non-native. But at one point, I was thinking, I am a non-native female tutor, a young one by the standards of our industry, working and living in one of the best teacher training centers in Scotland, developing and growing we brought Delta to Scotland, and I felt really proud of myself.
Right. Yeah,
um,
yeah.
I was like, it was one of, I don't usually, I'm very proud of my teachers, of the people I train up, and I'm so excited to see what they're up to after the training course is finished. And I never really take a moment to kind of celebrate myself, but there was a moment in Scotland and I was like, you did it. It was great. It was fantastic, and that gave me the confidence in 2019 to finally decide, you know what, it's time to go home and it's time to go freelance, and it's time to because when you're working in a school, when you're working with a center, you get to do a lot of fun stuff, but often it's just the same things.
Hmm.
And once you find something that works, you're not really keen to change it. But I wanted to experiment other things. I wanted to because once you're a trainer, you can train. You can train anything. It doesn't have to be English teaching. Once you've got the methodology and once you've got that confidence, it's fine. And I decided that's what I wanted to do. Plus, I had my own space. This is my apartment here in Bucharest, which I hadn't rented. It's mine. Pay mortgage for another 20 years, but it's my
Yeah.
name on the dotted line. So yeah, I decided to go freelance. And it would 2019 was a wonderful experience because
And I need to ask,
yeah,
sorry,
yeah.
sorry to interrupt, but I need to add, out of curiosity, what role in your coming back to
Mm,
Romania
mm.
plays the Romanian economy that is booming? Are you part of a
Yes.
wider? Are you part of a wider wave of people coming back,
There,
or what do you think?
that's a very good question. I think that, well, because you meant, and I'll be very honest here.
Mhm,
Scotland and generally the west of Europe, because this year I got to work a lot in Ireland.
mhm,
Actually, about 4 months of this year were spent in Ireland. Western Europe, everybody has this sort of idealized version of Western Europe, how wonderful it is and how many opportunities there are. And yes, there are opportunities. You do have to work hard for them, and it's very rewarding. But I found that financially, it is not as rewarding
mhm,
because although, and I'll give you an example here, although literally on paper, my salary was 10 times higher than it was in Turkey, for example. 10
mhm,
times, I did the math.
mhm, mhm,
The cost of living is very high. And if you're not a unit, so if you don't have a partner or a family, then it's really not worth it financially, because everything is so expensive. You walk in, that's what I was telling you about. Little literally saved my life, because it was the cheapest shop there. And although it is, a lot of people think that teacher training is such a glamorous lifestyle and you must be getting loads of money. You're not. You're not. But money has never been a consideration for me, in the sense that, I'm happy doing what I like. As long as I get to, have a decent lifestyle, it's true. I'm happy, and I'm a bit of an outlier in the industry, in the sense that, I'm always, how can I help, and not how much are you going to pay me for my help? But I will be very, very honest, and one of the reasons why I decided to finally go back was a financial reason. And literally my first teacher training gig was in Kiev, doing the Delta. And
So wait, you training Masha, that is?
yeah.
All right.
It was my first teacher
Nice.
training gig, and it was great, because even with the taxes that I pay back home, the cost of living is much more affordable. And everybody has this picture of Eastern Europe, Romania, and generally it's like being very poor countries. But actually, it's, if you look at it, it's not. You can make a living. You just need to see where your priorities are. I mean,
But I think also something has changed,
it has.
and recently we are seeing really a dynamic growth.
Yes.
Much better infrastructure. And I think that's it's actually where the beating heart of the European economy is moving.
Absolutely.
I think right now.
And I was like, every time I came back from abroad, where there was during my time in Turkey, or during my time in Scotland, in Edinburgh, I came back to Bucharest, and I was thinking, like, oh my God, this is so clean.
You're right.
It was, and everybody here was like, what are you talking about, Julie? Look, and they were just listing a long itemized list of things that are wrong. And I'm like, but you're stuck in this perspective. From my perspective, coming back, I mean, sure, a lot of the political, a lot of the not the economical, but a lot of the political, of the social problems that people complain about, those exist abroad as well. They do. They really do.
I have honestly, it's been 7 years since I'm in France, and it's like, I see social problems involving education, healthcare, you name it, pretty much universal everywhere, pretty much universal everywhere.
Absolutely. And one of the things that really struck me was at one point in Romania, the healthcare system was making, it always does, it's either healthcare or whatever, the healthcare system was making waves, making headlines, and then I was in Edinburgh, and I was comparing the news in both countries, and it was the same thing, even the same words almost, like the filth on the hospital corridors, NHS staffing not being able to cope with influx of patients and things like that. And this was pre-pandemic. And it was the same thing. And I'm like, why is this framed like, oh my God, this is such a Romanian problem? And I'm sure it could stand the test also in Poland or in Ukraine.
We thought that, our healthcare system is virtually non-existent, or like the worst in the world, until, the war started and people moved. And now I hear these terrible stories. People have to wait for, like, the only good reason to call an ambulance, it's if you're virtually dying.
Dying. Absolutely.
In Ukraine, it's Very different.
Yeah, it's very different, and it's very, and like, please God, don't get a cavity while you're in the UK, because even with the NHS, my dentist was telling me, so I see that you have all white fillings. Like with the NHS, we can't give you white fillings, so we can give you the
The old
metal
one.
filling, the
Oh
old
my
ones, which
God.
are illegal in Romania.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
You
yeah.
can't get them anymore.
Yeah.
And I paid 300 quid, £300 for one metal filling with the NHS, which was
Yeah.
reduced from 900.
God, you have
So
to sell a kidney or something to have your
exactly,
tooth
exactly.
filled.
And then all of my plans when I moved to, I was like, I'm gonna visit, I'm gonna go, I'm gonna travel, and then you see like council tax, television tax, tax, and then you end up with something, and I'm like, okay,
I may not be traveling this month.
we'll be
I'll go
traveling
to
this
a
month.
Polish shop.
Yeah, go to the pol. Yeah, I'm gonna travel all the way down the street to Little and back again, and it's gonna be fantastic. And it sounds funny. And I was one of my best friends is married to an Englishman, and they live close to the border with Wales in the south. And that was my traveling for the year. But we actually we compared, and her with husband and then baby on the way, they were paying as many taxes as I was individually, um, single in Edinburgh. And a lot of my colleagues were saying, yeah, but Julie, but you live in an I got extremely lucky to get an IKEA apartment, like it was a matchbox, a very nice matchbox. I loved it. It was fantastic. It was great. It was a very good apartment. But she was like, they were like, my colleagues were shocked. Like, you don't share, you don't have room flatmates, you don't. And I'm like, I am 30 years old. I do not want to share anymore. I've been sharing space um throughout my life. I don't want to do that anymore. And they were like, yeah, but it'll be so much cheaper. And I didn't understand what they were talking about. And then after a couple of months, I was, okay, I see their point. But yeah. So professionally, as I said, Scotland was the best, because it's good to be in the center where things happen. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's very good. You get to meet a lot of people. A lot of people get to know you. So it just gives you that confidence and that visibility. And although, for example, if we're talking about teacher training and English teaching, like Turkey is a
Yeah.
major hub for that. Eastern Europe is the same.
Now, Masha,
Used to,
I want to go to Turkey next time.
yeah.
So maybe
Um,
Julie, maybe you know someone from Izmir, you
yeah,
know?
absolutely, absolutely.
Give us
Uh,
You want
some
to go to Turkey
trace, yeah.
to do what? For a holiday or
No, to
to start
talk
a
to people
business?
from Turkey.
you can talk
Talk
to
to
people.
Ah,
people
you
from
mean okay
Turkey.
to have somebody on the
Yes.
Yeah, I
show?
mean, go.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Just
sorry,
go to Turkey, and
I
I'm
used the
okay
mental shortcut,
because
you know.
you
Yeah,
can
go
go
to Turkey.
anywhere. For me, it's
Just like we are in Romania right now, but I
okay.
love this, local flavor, and that will actually make sense, to follow Julie, to Izmir.
Yeah, absolutely,
All right.
absolutely. I'll put you in touch with some people. Yeah, and although, as I was saying, like, it's such a hub, for it, for an industry.
Mhm.
It's a total different thing when you're close to the center,
If you
where,
make it as a
Yeah.
non-native in Edinburgh, I mean, that's
yeah.
something.
And it was, I mean, I wasn't a sole case. There's another right now. There's another Romanian trainer working for one of the schools in Edinburgh. So it's not as impossible as
Mhm.
it. And I think that things are changing for the better in the industry,
Yeah.
because literally there are more non-native speakers, non-native trainers. So there's a lot more of us, and what we're experiencing, talking about waves, is there are a lot of younger trainers, which is great because, you know, teaching methodology, research is changing so much, and we get people who are keen to keep up with that, because it's very easy to stay to, okay, I'm doing the course, like they've been doing this course like this for 20 years, I'm not going to change it, it works fine. But I've always been of the notion that, you know, maybe there's a different way of doing things. Maybe there's, maybe we can bring some innovation. There's so much research and so many things about how we perceive learning to happen have changed. So let's keep up with these things, and we see it finally because I'm a Celta and a Delta trainer first. Cambridge is a lot more responsive and reactive to these things. And just recently, I was again in Turkey, in Istanbul, for the CETA conference, the CETA symposium, which is a conference for Celta and Delta trainers. And like so many ways of doing things differently, to better support our teachers, to better support the learning process, because it's a very difficult, it's very stressful, very challenging courses, very intense courses, and a lot of trainers are so keen on making it an enjoyable experience, even more enjoyable experience, because I believe it is rewarding. I believe that the payoff is well worth it. But it was just lovely to see, and yeah, it's a rejuvenation of the industry, and I'm happy to be part of this new wave. And it's inspiring for everyone, regardless of age, regardless of where they come from. And I know so many people who've branched out. After Kiev, I went to Kazakhstan to teach Klil. After, I know I have colleagues who've moved into learning and teaching other languages or niche languages. And coaching is it's an ongoing trend right now, specifically language coaching.
Tell me, I'm sorry to interrupt, but then again, you mentioned Kazakhstan. I'd like to go there too.
Yeah.
But what about the let's say the ELT scene in Kazakhstan?
Oh, it's huge.
Yes.
So the drive to learn English is actually
let me tell you something. This was happening in 2019, and the government, I think their priorities have changed because of the pandemic since then. But in 2019, the government wanted to make sure that Kazakhstan is a trilingual country, because it's a bilingual country. You have Kazakh and Russian being the two national tongues, and they wanted, I can't remember exactly the percentage, but they wanted a very large percentage of the population to speak English as well.
Wow. So it's like it was like a national idea. I don't know.
Exactly. It was government driven, and so the project that I was part of was supported and financed by the Kazakh government. And the way they were going to do that was they were going to introduce CLIL, which is Content Language Integrated Learning. As
so for those who don't know, it basically means that you teach school subjects in the target language. In that case, that'll be English, right?
Exactly. And they wanted to introduce this into mainstream education. So their idea was that all education in Kazakhstan will be CLIL, especially for
do you know where are they with that now?
I don't know, but because they piloted, so in 2019 they piloted the project in secondary and high school education. And then the pandemic came. And of course, there was the very little opportunities for training. There was a bit on it was online, and I think most of the training now is carried out online. I don't think that the project was stopped. I think it was just stalled for a little while things got under control. So I'm pretty sure that it is very much ongoing. And just recently, I was telling you at the CETA symposium, because we have a Cambridge presence there. They were saying like that market, Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan, is booming. So a lot of teachers getting trained up on courses like the CELTA and like the Delta. So obviously there's definite interest. I've lost touch with the program once the pandemic came. We were supposed to go there, so I'm not sure where they are now. But I'm pretty sure that it's still very much in the books. They were wildly optimistic in terms of the time frame, even when we were doing the course.
But
But
what is, I don't know if any of you know the current, let's say, I know it's kind of vague, but the current level of English. I mean, what is the current state of the education and this idea of a trilingual country? Is it based on a pure whim of the ruling class, or is
I
it
think it was
simply?
part of the sort of move towards modernization, westernization. Because if I'm not mistaken, it came out of a report. The idea, so I was told, came out of a report that said about 80% of people in the European Union speak English. And I think that that's what they were trying to emulate. They're saying
Definitely
like
not in France.
And I think that that's what they were trying to emulate. And education in Kazakhstan is very important. And gosh, the teachers there are so passionate, so well trained, and just so very keen to make contact with the world. And we were treated like superstars, and I was like, it's okay, it's fine, I'm just Julie, it's fine. But they were so
Julie's so
into to
optimistic
learn.
about the industry. I'm sorry for beating this dead horse again, but how much is, in your view, AI is disrupting the industry?
I think there's a lot of panic around it, but I think it's going to fade. I don't think AI is going to be able to replace us. And there's so many people out there who are trying to make good use of AI, good principled use. And it's always been the same thing, especially in our industry, in the teaching. Whenever a new teaching method or teaching aid or teaching approach appears, or whenever a new learning methodology appears, everybody's like, oh no, we're not doing this. But I think that I honestly think no one, and the pandemic proved it to me, no one can replace teachers. There's always
No,
going
not
to be
replace, but do you think that, the let's say a new teacher will have to emerge, let's say, because we cannot, not notice that a lot of this
absolutely, and
mechanical learning can now be outsourced to AI, and it will be done much cheaper.
yeah, I don't know. I don't think that. And I'll give you an example why I think it's an example, like Duolingo. Like I know so many of my students use Duolingo, right? And they're very keen, but they still come to classes and they still want a Julie and a Masha to interact with them and teach them. And I think it's going to be it's a tool. and it's part of our toolbox, but it's never going to be that big. That's my view of it. Technology is evolving, and we have to keep up with it. But I don't think it's going to be that. And give it a couple of years, it'll be forgotten. We'll be we'll have to
I wish
deal with
I were
another.
so optimistic. I mean, oh
No,
my God.
Yeah, yeah,
really,
it's
I don't. The only problem that at the moment, the only struggle is really plagiarism. That's the only thing that, particularly in my line of business, where we're struggling with. But we have started introducing, even on CELTA courses, like way you can use ChatGPT to design materials or to make your life easier. And I think that's very useful.
Oh my God,
Even
all those
for us.
papers we wrote. So now people do it using.
yeah, yeah,
Well, they
that's
do.
right.
I don't think I know.
Yeah.
I don't think I know. And let me tell you, and at one point, I actually had to have an honest conversation with a candidate. And I said, like, look, you can use ChatGPT to write your essays and whatever. It's fine, whatever. Sometimes I can catch it. I can prove it. You have a plagiarism policy in place. We'll just follow the steps. If I don't prove it, good for you. Because ultimately, the proof is in your teaching. And you see it very clearly. The people who haven't gone through the process, the people who've, taken shortcuts, they're not as confident in teaching. And they're not as proficient. And I was like, you are taking a shortcut that's actually affecting your teaching because you've invested so much money into this and so much effort. Okay, especially if we're talking about the Delta. And Masha, how intense and how demanding it is. And it's a mental effort and a financial effort. But these courses, they're not designed to torture people. They have an
Oh, they are
intrinsic.
not?
No,
Didn't know
shockingly,
that?
I know. Shockingly, I know.
Mm.
But there's a logic behind it, and you have to trust the process. And if you're taking shortcuts, then I'll be able to see. I'll be able to see in the teaching. I'll be able to see in your classroom performance because you're not going to be as confident. You're not going to know as much as you think you are. And that's it. So yeah. Whenever it comes to AI and to whatever it is that's new, there was the same thing with Zoom. Like when Zoom came out, like, oh my God, we're gonna teach online. We hate it. It's not okay. Yeah, sure. There's some things that we can change, and there's some things that we prefer. But ultimately, we have to embrace that this is going to be part of our future in one way or another, and we have to make the best of it. That's always been my
What is
approach to anything.
particular concern to me is that
Mm,
that technology may, in a way, quench the demand for language
mm,
learning by
mm,
solving the problem simply, by means of some sort of simultaneous translation,
mm,
including also alternating your, movement of your lips and so on.
mhm, mhm,
I
mhm,
saw
mhm,
such videos, and I think this technology
mhm,
may become more and more popular. So imagine us, the three of us,
mhm,
sitting here, each one speaking their native language, but
Mhm.
at the same time, the technology is, transforming the movement of our lips. And of course, we all speak in our own voices. They are not like computer generated, but these are our voices, but we speak English, even though what we actually do in front of our screens is we speak our native languages. So I think, and given that the technology is, well, delivering, right,
mm.
then I guess it might reduce the overall demand for language learning. But I don't know how far are we from this
That's one
kind of,
thing. And let me
yeah.
tell you this. And I don't know if, again, I don't know if I'm right or wrong, but this is
Mhm.
what I believe, and this is from my experience. We have a very centralized, Europeanized view of learners, westernized, Americanized view of learners, right? But I've been to places, the world is a very, very big place. And I've been to places where, you know, in Kazakhstan, we had chalk and board. I've been to Uzbekistan, where the demand, and not just the demand, but the motivation to learn a new language is extraordinary. Because what you're saying, like instant communication like that with the, that's fine, but there's so many nuances. There's so many, learning a language is not just about the other person understanding you, but the other person understanding you on a personal, cultural level, and you wanting to be part of the target culture that you want. And I think that that is an often overlooked aspect of learning languages. It is a matter of identity, and we wouldn't be in the space that we are now if language and identity and learning a language wouldn't be so important to so many people. And no AI and no translation method is going to take that away from. It might take away. I mean, there might be people who would want that to say, okay, good. I'm in a business meeting, instant universal translator, go Star Trek. Fine, it's great, fantastic. But there are other people who are going to go through the process because they don't. It's not just a transactional thing for them. It's an identity thing.
But if we talk about
Nice.
English as lingua franca, you know, this global English, it's, I don't want to say it's completely detached from the culture, but it's you know, it's a thing in itself. So, and it's a transaction. Why people learn, let's say, lingua franca, it's in order to be able to perform different transactions, and AI can solve that.
True, but I don't think that that's maybe part why some people want to do it, but I don't think it's all learners.
Yeah. There are still people who want to learn
There's
different languages, not only.
You know, and even if people who want to learn English, it's not just transactional. I was telling you that this year I got to do a lot of courses in Ireland, and we got so many students coming in to our free classes. And most of these were refugees from different parts of the world, or people who, you know, said, "I'm moving to Ireland. I want a new, better life." And you would expect for these people the whole interaction to be very transactional, and you expect these people to be like, "Okay, good. If I have a universal translator, if I could put a chip in my head and things like that." But we had at one point in one course, we had amazing turnover. Like, just to give you an idea, usually on courses, you get like maybe 15 students in a class. If you're very lucky, usually is between 5 and 10. We had 27 students show up every single day. And they said, "We love the atmosphere. We love the community here. We love the support." And we get to talk to, because we had yes, a great deal of them were Ukrainian, but we had people from all parts of Africa, for example. And there was so like, it's like you're stepping out of your headspace, which is filled with, you know, so much anxiety over what the future has, and you can relate to other people who have the same problems, but for 3 hours every day, we get to talk and we get to relate on a personal level to something completely different using the medium of English. And I firmly believe that these people, if given the choice, okay, you're going to go to class or you're going to get a universal translator, they're going to go to class. That's what I think. I mean, the future can prove me wrong, but
no, it's great. I'm listening.
I like to manifest. I like to manifest.
It's inspiring what you say, you know. I think but Masha, what's we are fearing maybe is a potential death of business English, as such. I mean, because that may be outsourced as long as business is not about identity, it's not about genuine understanding, or this could also be questioned, right? But I think that perhaps this sort of demand may wane, but definitely not this genuine ambition to
let me play devil's advocate there. I think there's also been a change in how we conduct business. And I think that change is also reflected into kind of business English courses, because it used to be very sort of transactional, but I see a lot more interest in intercultural communication, and a lot more interested in coaching, even at business level. And I think that we're going to, that's the reason why language coaching, for example, took off so much. I'm reading a book now on language coaching, and all of the well, not all of them, but about 90% of the examples in the book are from a business English environment. And it's about language coaching, so it's about getting people out of their the mindset of I can't do this, I don't have time to do this, please, Scotty, beam me up to the universal translator. But if things are changing, and there's a lot more emphasis are, as I said, intercultural communication, soft skills. So I think that the more we lean into that, honestly, I think what the world needs is a lot more interest in the humanities. I think that we need to leave we need to leave everything else behind a little bit, and just lean more into the humanities, into our soft skills, into what I call our soul subjects. And we see that in business also, and there's definitely a niche there. So it's not also dire, until I see like a growth in that. I'll and even there I'll advocate that it's not going to be that. At the core, we are human beings, and there are going to be a lot of people pushing back. And can I be really mean? Can I be really mean and sort of
go on?
Like, I'll give you an example in the pandemic. Like, everybody was like, "Oh my God, we want," like in Romania. I'll give you the example of Romania. In Romania, we went from being, top 10 places where the vaccination was going, and because if you interview people on the street, which they did, and they're saying like, we can't wait for the vaccine, we want the vaccine to come up, we want that to be here already so we can just put this all behind us. And then it took a dip. We were like bottom of the list. People saying like, well, we don't know what's in that vaccine, and they put chips in our brains and things like that. It will be exactly the same thing. Yeah, you'll have people, oh yes, the universal translator, AI, great, fantastic. And then you go like, well, we don't know what that is, and we don't know what, and it'll be the same thing.
Yeah,
People
you're right.
are fickle. Human beings are fickle creatures. They're gonna sort of embrace it. Yay, AI, universal translator. We reach Star Trek levels. I don't know why I keep mentioning Star Trek. I watched Star Trek last night. Yeah, with the universal translator, we can communicate. Yay, great, fantastic. And then they'll be like, well, I don't know what they put in this AI. So yeah, I think we're gonna be okay. Well, we're not gonna be okay, but we're gonna survive.
Excellent.
Happy people need happy people.
Happy people, yeah, happy people, yeah. That's what I say.
Julie called us, happy people.
Exactly.
Excellent. Masha, I'm kind of worried if we have time for the thinking out loud proper, because
well, it begs everything, I mean, and Julie herself, maybe last 10 minutes, this question, remember the question I asked Tamara when she was on the show?
Sorry, you have to remind me. That was a long time ago.
Okay, just to wrap up this, it's very teachery podcast. What do you think is the difference between a teacher and a trainer? Because you're doing both.
Mm,
And
that's a
you
very good
said that
question.
when you became a teacher trainer, you now think that you can train anybody, not necessarily language teachers.
Yeah. If I'm finding it hard to think of a difference, is because I don't think that there is a difference. I don't think that there's a difference between being a teacher and a trainer, because or a big difference, right? Not just a sort of factual, yes, my learners are adults, yes, they all are professionally oriented and something like that. I think that's the main, if I'm being honest, I think that's the main thing. I don't think that there is a difference between teacher and trainer. And I think that good trainers, supportive trainers, keep that in mind, that there is no difference between being a teacher and a trainer. Because often it's so easy to be like, well, I'm the expert and I know better and you have to do as I say. But we wouldn't do that with our students, would we? We wouldn't say, oh, your English sucks and you have to do better, which sometimes happens in training. Oh, your
You talk about
instructions are
sport, for
shit.
example, or
Yeah, or whatever. But I honestly think that there is no there shouldn't be a difference between teaching and training. It's basically the same skills, the same willingness to help. That's always been my view of it. I've always just wanted to help my students, whether they are learners or whether they are teachers. My mission is to help. You have a goal in mind, whereas to learn a language or to pass a course, and I'm here to facilitate that. But I'm also here to facilitate growth. Because sure, you can pass the course, but what's the outcome? What has fundamentally changed in you as a person? And are you happier for it? So I think that that's the key. And I honestly think that as human beings, we have the right to be happy in our profession. And to be happy with, that's why I call people happy people, because we should take pride, yes, but we should take pleasure in what we're doing, in helping other people, in kindness and all of that. And the same kindness and patience and support that you would give a learner of any age, that's the same kindness, patience, and support you should give a teacher, as if you're a trainer. If you're a trainer of anything, really, right? It's
so what would it mean to be a mathematics trainer? Like it kind of doesn't sound right. It's like,
but there is a language
teachers.
trainer, like let's say this method, what is it, audiolingual, you basically train people. And this method is used when you have to teach somebody, like a soldier, a language very fast. What they do is they basically train them.
Well, yes, and that's it doesn't negate what I said. You still have to be supportive. You still have to offer yourself as a resource, right? If you're teaching math or if you're teaching a soldier, you have to be confident in your tools, and you have to instill confidence in your learners, wherever they are, that they can crack the equation, that they can pronounce the thing in the same way. So, and ultimately, what you're saying is that the only difference between a teacher and a trainer is the context, and Yeah, that's a factual difference. But the skills and the attitudes and the behaviors that we bring into whatever classroom or whatever training session, they're the same.
So great. I was thinking for a moment about a driving
Jesus
instructor.
Christ.
Yeah, Jesus is another story. But a driving instructor
Turn the
is
other
also
cheek.
it's also a teacher, right? It's teaching you how to drive. A driving instructor.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even though, yeah. All right.
And I think one of the reasons why I'm so resistant to driving, because my driving instructor terrified me.
It happens, I think, all too often, in this
terrified
industry.
me, and I was like, yeah, no. The only thing I learned from it was like, I told him, and he looked at me like I was coming from another planet. He told me, listen, I want to know how to pump gas, because what happened? Because you go to the gas station and then you rely on somebody to help you pump gas, and I'm like, but they don't always show up, so I want you to teach me how to pump gas. And he was like, what? Sure, I could do that. And I now know how to pump gas. I may not drive, but whenever I drive with my mom, and she's like, she doesn't know how to pump gas, and she needs to go to the gas station, and then nobody shows up, and I'm like, don't worry, Mom, I got you. So yeah.
Excellent. All right.
Okay. But
Julie,
what about animals? You teach animals or you train them?
You educate them.
So there's another one. Educator, teacher, trainer, coach. Now we have so many.
It's the same thing. It's the same thing at the end of the day.
Jedrek, did you notice we had the first person who had the courage to answer us, guys, you're bullshitting around. It's the same,
It's the same.
Yeah,
I wish we had time for another question, like
great, Julie,
she wouldn't be able to say it's the same.
Yeah, I mean, your enthusiasm and everything, it makes me want
it's
to
contagious,
visit Bucharest
right?
at the same time, and to be a better teacher.
Can I say something? Masha, when we met, and I was like on the hallways of the school in Kiev, going like, "Hey, happy people," Masha would be like, "Who is this person, and what is she doing?" And now, look, I win.
I think I was the only one who specifically asked for negative feedback. I just approached her and said, I'm sorry, it's not working for me. I'm from Eastern Europe. I need to know what I'm doing wrong. And she was like, well,
you're not doing much wrong. So.
I know this attitude very well, it's like this, the need for being scalded, like you're doing this wrong, that wrong. Yeah,
not scolded, but what do you need to improve? I mean, I paid a lot of money. If I'm doing everything right, what am I doing here? That's how it was. Yeah.
Great. Thanks a lot for this conversation. It was really inspiring, and
likewise.
And I was making notes, so I'll have something to chew, after we disconnect. All right. Thanks so much, Julie. It's been a pleasure. And Masha, it's over to you.
Okay, Masha, it's over to you. This was another episode of the Thinking Out Loud podcast. Stay tuned for the next one. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.